All right. Good morning. Welcome in. I hope you enjoyed that music intro for over a minute. That's not usually what we do, but well, no, it's just it's Nathan McHardy's fault.
He said it.
All right. So whatever. Um, but I'm excited that he's here, and we talked about it all morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. If you want to watch this segment where we're going to drink bourbon, do you need water? I don't have any. No, I do back in the water cooler.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hey, if he needs a cup of it, we can just go back there. So, Nate, I didn't even know we had bottled water.
Yeah.
Holy hell. Okay. But if you want to watch this segment, this is a 24-minute segment like 7:30, 8:30, and 9:30 are. And we're going to drink some bourbon. So go to YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. And Nate, are we going to do the Russel?
Nice.
It's fine. Are we going to do... I love live radio.
It's great.
Go to YouTube and watch this S show. Search Out of Bounds Sports. And I may even give away a bottle. I don't think Nate can on the air, but I know I can if 21 and up and so on. So, are you going to open the Russells first or the, you don't have any booze with you? No. So, I mean,
Nice.
I love you,
Nice.
but I don't really just want to drink water with you. So,
I mean,
We can open whichever one first that you want.
all right. Well, I'm going to let you
It's your
pick.
shot.
All right. Nate Dogg with Briarwood Wine and Spirits. We've been doing this a long time. We were way ahead of the curve. And if you want to watch this, go to YouTube and search Out of Bounds Sport as Nate has joined us. He's got a barrel pick from Russel's Reserve and in Kentucky. And I was there for it. And he's got a barrel pick from Wilderness Trail. So super awesome. What's up, dude?
Man, glad to be here.
Yeah.
And it's my fault that it's been as long as it has. I've just been blowing and going and slipping minds and,
That's
and
okay.
all of that. So,
But you're here.
yeah, very glad
You're here, and the holiday season is
upon us.
is upon us. So this was good timing
Yeah.
with the two barrel picks that you have at 4949 Old Canton Road
That's right.
and Briarwood Wine and Spirits. Of course, Nate and Leslie have many other things, but barrel picks have become the thing for you. Thanking a big time client, your brother, your dad, your best buddy, and that Russell's won't last long. I don't even know if it'll last through the day, but it hit Briarwood Wine and Spirits yesterday, and Nate posted both on his Facebook page and on the Bourbon Society deal where those cats are locked in. So some of this will not last long.
No, it won't. We've still got a good bit of the Wilderness Trail left, and obviously right now we have some Russells left as well. But I would be surprised if it makes it through the weekend for sure. Just because Russell's barrel picks are really popular.
Yeah.
And just kind of dovetail off what you were saying about why barrel picks in general have gotten more popular. Obviously, like you said, they make great gifts and all of that, but what's really driving their popularity, not just Russell's, any of them, just barrel picks in general, what's really driving their popularity is a lot of the, collectible bourbons that people are often looking for are difficult to come across. They just are for any number of reasons. And the folks that really enjoy drinking those quality bourbon, that level of quality bourbons, have learned that barrel picks yield really unique bourbon, as long as the people picking them aren't picking dogs. They're they're really popular because they're very unique, and they're finite, right? I mean, like this barrel, we're going to try the Wilderness Trail first. This barrel is, I mean, $80, I think. But I mean,
that's a great deal.
Yeah. But
I thought
mean,
you were going to say 120.
No, I mean, in a lot of barrel picks range, like for us, they range between about $55 for like some old Ezra and some other things.
Sure.
All the way up to north of $100.
Okay.
We've had a couple of Willets that were, I mean, those are like $400 a bottle. But we sold out in 30 minutes.
I'm not surprised.
It was ridiculous. But so the bourbon drinkers are finding that the barrel picks just yield really unique bourbons that are different. Like, you know, Wilderness Trail makes a wheated bourbon that we put on the shelf.
Sure.
But we picked a barrel of wheated bourbon, and they're all just a little bit different. You know, you can go pick, like when we were picking the Russells, for instance, there were a couple of barrels that we tasted that tasted just like Russel's Reserve to me. I mean, the way that Russel's Reserve tastes, it has a very classic flavor. And that's not really what we look for. Jimmy and I pick the barrels together all the time.
Sure.
And our palates are really dialed in together, which is funny. But we look for things that are atypical to whatever the bourbon is that we're picking, because we know that that's what our bourbon drinkers are looking for. I know that they can go buy a bottle of 8-year Russell's Reserve on the shelf and expect it to taste a certain way. But we look for characteristics in the bourbons that are a little atypical, a little different. And I'll use the word off, but I don't mean it in a negative way. Just because that makes it more interesting.
No doubt.
I mean,
and the finite piece is huge because you only get 300 bottles or whatever number it is.
It's about 100. It usually, I mean, the most we've gotten, or 170 bottles, out of a barrel.
Okay.
You know, but we've had some that were as few as, 90.
You don't ever know what the yield's going to be.
No. I mean, you can kind of tell when you're picking the barrel of how full it is or whatever based on the age of it and stuff like that. But nah, I mean, it's nice to have.
It's a fun process.
Yeah. Oh,
they roll out 7 barrels a lot of times, and Nate and Jimmy, we all get to go through it, which is fun. It's the whole process and experiment of it, which is fun. And right now we're trying the Wilderness Trail barrel pick.
It's their wheated bourbon. Wheated bourbon.
That's at Briarwood Wine and Spirits right now. And so Nate, tell us about, first of all, the nose is amazing, but tell us about this bottle and give us kind of a taste profile, if you will.
Sure. I mean, so this is their wheated bourbon, meaning that, instead of rye, which is typically the makeup of bourbon,
right,
it has wheat. So this one is 64% corn, 24% wheat, and 12% malted barley.
Okay.
They're a relatively young distillery. I mean, they were started in 2012, and the vast majority of their barrel picks are younger than 5 years. And a lot of people are like, if it's not 8 years, it's not any good. And that's just not accurate. There's certain characteristics that 8 years have that 4 years don't, but it doesn't mean that it's better or whatever. So this one's 4 years and 8 months. This is our third barrel pick from them, and I think that they've all been in this age range.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem at all with young bourbon.
No.
It, like I said, it has a different characteristic. It takes on less of the char, less of the oak, just by virtue of spending less time in the barrel. But wheated bourbons in general are
delicious.
They're delicious, and they're also pretty polarizing. Like, people either love wheated bourbons,
you're right,
or they do not.
You're right.
Do not like.
It's funny you
bourbon.
say that,
because I mean, I'll bring if a customer's in there asking us questions, I mean, there's things that we ask them to kind of give ourselves, some a roadmap of kind of what they like to drink, and
right.
if we say mention one that's wheated, or if we say this one's wheated, a lot of times they'll be like, I don't drink wheated bourbon, or I love wheated bourbon.
Right.
You know, for whatever.
See, I'm open to. I want to try as many different things as I can.
Yeah, the only whiskey that two, I guess, whiskeys that I personally have an aversion to, I cannot drink Scotch. I can't. I'm 55 years old. I don't know if that'll change when I'm 65. I don't know. But to me, Scotch tastes like something's wrong with it.
Right.
And it always has. And I'm not a huge fan of straight rye whiskey. It's just got certain characteristics of the spice and the smoke and a lot of the stuff that the heavy rye stuff brings, that I personally don't care for. Doesn't mean I hadn't had some that I like, because I do. The Wild Turkey 101 rye, just straight out of the bottle, is freaking delicious. Wait, we're not like Pat McAfee status yet, are we? Can we just like rip with cuss words?
No, you
Okay.
can say
Just
damn and you can say damn and hell.
But
Believe me, I've been able to stay in that space.
yeah,
on air.
That's good. I just have to check myself.
Yeah.
But no, so Wild Turkey's 101 rye bourbon is out of sight.
Yeah.
But so back to this one, wheated bourbons generally are a little softer.
True.
You know, they don't have that intense rye that a lot of folks are used to. Nose just right out of the gate. I mean, you get the pretty standard stuff. You get baking spices, cinnamon, clove.
I got the cinnamon.
I get like spiced apple. You know what I mean? Like holiday spiced apple kind of thing going on.
You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show. This is Nathan McHardy with Briarwood Wine and Spirits, and he was kind enough to bring in his Wilderness Trail weeded barrel pick, which they have at 4949 Old Canton Road. I agree with Nate. It's a more mellow bourbon, which I don't always have to have a bourbon that just knocks me over, and it's delicious. I think
You put a couple of drops of ice in yours.
I did.
And it melted. So
you get a different flavor. As you and I've discussed.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's a really good way to taste bourbon. And we do it when we're picking barrels. We do it when we're just drinking bourbon. But we try it straight and get an idea of what the characteristic of that barrel is straight out of the barrel. And then we'll put a little drop of water in it just to proof it down a little bit and see how that changes it.
Right.
And sometimes it'll change it and just totally mute it. And you know what I mean? And,
right.
But sometimes, and to me, this one is that way too, just a little drop of water in there and it just kind of blooms it out. You know what I mean? It just opens up.
Yes.
And it just kind of.
And for our listeners, we do that during the tasting. During the barrel pick too, like Nate's talking about. He and Jimmy, they taste it straight out of the barrel.
Yep.
In a Glencairn glass. And then they give you waters, and you just put a drop or two just to see what happens. Yeah. You get different flavor profiles.
Because, like I said,
which I think is cool.
Yeah, because if you taste it right out of the barrel and you're like, oh man, this is killer.
Right. And
you don't try it with some water, which is how most people drink their bourbon.
Right.
I mean, I know the diehards are all about straight or neat.
That's great.
I get it. Most people have at least an ice cube in there. Right. So you really want to see how the bourbon's going to present in a manner that most people are going to drink it. Because you wouldn't want to pick something straight out of the barrel and then it be one that when you add a little water to it, it kind of mutes it out, right? So we try to look at it from the standpoint of what's our customer going to be tasting.
Right. Well, that's all you and Jimmy were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
When we went through the 7 Russell's barrels and then he brought in one more. Anyway, y'all were talking about customers. How is this going to land on the palate?
Right.
Yeah. And you're not looking for 3%. You're looking for a bigger group.
I want as many people to love it as I can.
Exactly.
As I can.
All right. So here's where we are. We got 9 minutes. So that's plenty of time.
Yeah.
Left in the segment.
I can drink a lot in 9 minutes.
But I just wanted to, let you know. So the wilderness, these are great for clients. We're into football weather, steaks on the grill, all kinds of meat on the grill, red beans and rice, everything else. And Nate, what'd you say that bottle is? Retail?
I think it's $81.99.
So that's a great price point.
So it's 80-ish.
Wilderness Trail weeded barrel pick at Briarwood Wine and Spirits, 4949 Old Canton Road. And that's a delicious pick that you and Jimmy
Yeah, and you know we
picked out.
name all our bourbons in a specific way. We don't name our bourbons, our barrel picks, based on their flavor profiles, because what I interpret as one thing, you may interpret as something else.
That's a good point.
So if I called this one Banana Surprise, and me personally, I don't love banana notes in my whiskeys.
Me neither.
So if I were just a customer and I read that, I probably wouldn't buy it.
That's true.
So we look at it again from the customer's perspective. You know, I don't want to call it something that somebody else may not, may change their perception of it.
Right.
So we've always named them based on something that happens on the trip.
Yeah.
Right. We find there's always something.
Yes, there is.
I mean, there is always something happening on the trip
that
is worthy of a name.
So much fun in Lexington.
Yeah.
And out in Lawrenceburg.
This one, the Wilderness Trail barrel, is actually called TBD, to be determined. And that was because on the trip, we had a lot of fun and we did a lot of good stuff. And we totally spaced out on naming the barrel. Completely spaced out.
I love it.
And then we got to where we were literally just a couple of weeks out from them bottling it. And they called and they're like, hey, we really need
a name.
We need a name, and me and Jimmy were like, oh crap, what are you going to blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's where TBD came out.
All right, now let's go. This thing's going to fly off the shelves.
Yeah.
You now have a Russel's Reserve barrel pick.
It's totally different on the nose, man. Wow.
In Briarwood Wine and Spirits. Tell us about this one.
Yes.
I was there for this pick, which was awesome.
So Russel's Reserve is great. Wild Turkey, they're one of the OGs. The Russell family's been doing it as longer than anybody. But they use the same recipe for all of their bourbons that come out, all 4 or 5 of them. So Wild Turkey, Turkey 101, Rare Breed, Russell's Reserve, they're all the same recipe. They're corn, rye, and barley, and allegedly it's 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% barley. A lot of places don't officially release what their mash bills are, but there are enough people out there that word gets out.
Right.
So that's kind of the turkey blend is the 17, 13, and 12. This one is 8 years and 9 months, I think.
Okay.
And that's pretty standard for the Russell's barrel picks. Sometimes you'll luck up and get one that's 10 plus, but they don't roll a lot of those out for the barrel program in general. But and you'll recall this, but I'll kind of bring the story up. So we were tasting through 7 barrels, and the last one that we tasted was a fresh barrel. Right. None of us had tried it. Nobody had tried it. Bruce hadn't tried it.
Right.
Because the couple of groups before us had picked a couple of barrels and they needed to roll some down there for us to taste.
Right.
And we all, and just for the listeners, me, Jimmy, whomever I'm tasting with, we pick barrels totally blind. We don't want to know the ages. We don't want to know anything about them. We're strictly going by palate and nose and what we think our customers are gonna enjoy. And we went through all of these barrels, and they were all delicious because Russell's Reserve is delicious.
No question.
And as you recall, all 6 of us got a glass of that barrel, nosed it, took a sip, and all of our eyes lit up. Even Bruce, and I think at that moment we just said, "That's the one. Like that's it." And Bruce was like, "Well, I'm glad you picked it because if you hadn't, I was going to tell you to pick it."
And by the way, real quick, and I want Nathan to continue. Bruce Russell is Jimmy Russell's grandson,
3rd generation.
And he is a baller, and he's a super guy. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, and he kind of runs their barrel program,
and he does it great.
Does a great job. So this one right on the nose, right out of the gate. That's why I kind of leaned back because it's a lot.
It says
stouter.
hello.
It's got a lot more going. Not a lot more going on. It's stouter on the nose.
No doubt.
It presents. I mean, it's that rye. It's that spiciness of that rye.
And it is
That's so
banging.
Good.
It's delicious.
It's so good. So the thing that made this barrel unique to me versus all the others is there's a couple of somewhat obscure characteristics that present itself or can present itself in whiskey that does in this. And one of them is on the nose, and you probably didn't smell this to begin, but smell it now, and I'm going to say it while you're smelling it. Lemon Pledge. Isn't that weird?
Yes. That's crazy.
Yeah, like Lemon Pledge, like the stuff your mom would make you spray and clean off all the cheap furniture you had in the house. I mean, you know, we all had to do that.
Yeah, we did, especially in the 80s.
Yeah. Everything was coming from Kirkland's at the mall. You know, everything was cherry and brass. Yeah, no, we know. But yeah, so
2 minutes, Nate.
Lemon Pledge, you know, you get anisette, which is that kind of licoricey on the palate.
I'm glad you said that, because you can come up with what I'm.
It's just about vocabulary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody smells and tastes the same thing, technically. But when there's a vocabulary assigned to it, it makes it a lot easier to identify moving forward. So now,
I would have never thought of framing it up Lemon Pledge, but he's right. That is delicious.
Yeah. And you can tell it's that rye gives it more spice.
It does, and more kick.
Yeah. And
this is a big boy steak, cigar.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
and all their stuff,
fabulous.
all the Russells are 110 proof. And this one is no different.
How much is it retail?
$80.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's insane.
All right, we got 30 seconds. Is there anything else you want to say about either the Russel's Reserve barrel pick or?
I mean, you know, like I say on all of our Facebook posts, come and get it. That's it.
Briarwood Wine and Spirits, 4949 Old Canton Road. The Russel's Reserve barrel pick is there. It's not going to last long. What's the max? 2 barrels? I mean 2 bottles.
We didn't assign a max to it, but yeah,
I'll let
we
you
don't
and
want anybody.
Jimmy
Yeah, we don't want
figure that
anybody
out.
to come in there and go crazy with it. You know
Okay.
what I mean, we want as many people to get as they can.
Nate Dogg, thank you.
Yeah.
We're doing this more.
Yeah.
And he also has
Next
a
week.
Wilderness Trail weeded barrel pick, and the Russel's Reserve barrel pick is in the house.
And it's called Bang Bang Play.
It is called Bang Bang Play.
Because as you recall, me and Jimmy had to literally roll in, taste. We were like, we'll take that barrel we got in my truck and boogie to Birmingham.
Go to Briarwood Wine and
So
Spirits.
it was a Bang Bang Play.
We'll see you tomorrow.